Director, I'll do a roll call to confirm that all members are here and can hear me. I'm going to read your name and please respond that you are here and audible. Matt Allison.
Here.
Tanner Cole.
Here.
Paula Bertram.
Here.
Matt Brenner.
I'm here.
All right. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel and or Facebook Live and or YouTube Live. This meeting of the Planning Board is being conducted remotely. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidelines of the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the Lunenburg Board of Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. And all town facilities are currently closed to the public with the exception of pre-scheduled appointments. Excuse me. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. The order, which can be found posted on the town's website in the COVID-19 Information Center page, accessed through the town manager's webpage, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Planning Board is convening by Zoom video conference as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Using an internet-enabled device, smartphone, tablet, or computer, please go to zoom.us or the Zoom application and enter the meeting ID number. Or you can call 888-475-4499. Again, 888-475-4499. Tonight's meeting ID number is 891-044-46242. Again, 891-044-46242. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. This meeting will be replayed repeatedly on YouTube and live stream. So please be aware that other folks will see what you show on your screen. Take care not to screen share your computer or broadcast anything you would not like captured for everyone to watch and see for all time. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bernie. So we have been called to order. First item is public comment.
I do not see any public other than Mr. Roy.
Mr. Roy, I assume is representing the A&R tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then we'll move right into that. We have an A&R for 5052 Page Street. Please, Mr. Roy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Members of the, appreciate your time this evening. I'm representing Jeffrey Stone at the property known as 50 Page Street, which is right next to the cemetery on the southerly side of Page Street, just to the west of Lancaster Ave. And these lots were created probably a year ago ish by a previous the former engineer that was involved in the project. And we took the project over about maybe 3 or 4 months ago to complete the permitting with the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission. And as we were in the process for the Conservation Commission approval, we discovered that there was a little bit of a issue with the location of the wetland on site. So we necessitated a slight change in the house locations, which in turn necessitated a change to the property lines. So the A&R plan before you this evening is to do that. It's not creating any additional lots. It's just modifying property lines to accommodate that change. Frontage is not changing. We just changed a few of the property lines. And you can see that on the plan. The old line is represented by the dashed, the dash line on the plan. And there's a couple of dash lines. The only other change to the plan is that through the Board of Health process, Mr. Gareffi asked us to include some grading easements, one for each, respectively, for each property, In the event that one of the septic systems is built prior to the other one, the breakout grading for that system would extend on to the other property and vice versa for both properties. So he asked us to include those, and this was a logical time to capture those grading easements. So those are also shown on the plan. The permitting with Conservation Commission is complete. We received orders of conditions for both lots a few weeks ago. And the Board of Health process is just about complete. Jim Gareffi has indicated that he has no further comments on the plans that we submitted. He's just waiting for the next Board of Health meeting to send the permits to the board for signatures. So with that, I will stop talking and open up any questions that you folks may have.
Well, I'll start off by asking that there's still room for the driveway to get past the grading easement.
There is, and the driveway goes within that grading easement because when if let's just say lot 1 was built and the grading went over lot 2, at the time that they built lot 2, they would then be filling lot 2, and the need for that grading easement would go away. So the driveway is configured to accommodate that.
Okay. Well, I would open it up to the board.
I don't have any comments.
I have no comments.
I have no comments, so I guess I'd like to make a motion that we approve the A&R for 50 and 52 Page Street.
Sounds good. Is there a second?
I would second.
Super. Any further discussion? All in favor by roll call? Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Bertram?
Aye.
Mr. Brunner?
Aye.
And an aye for myself. Thank you, Mr. Roy.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. Just a question. What's the process for Mylars nowadays?
We'll call the board and they'll come in at their leisure. And once I have 3 signatures, we'll let you know. And
Okay, perfect.
Are you in any kind of rush for this?
As soon as I say no, the client will tell me otherwise. But I think this is going before the Board of Health at their first March meeting, which I think might be March 1st. So we have a few weeks, but as soon as possible. But I understand your schedule, so thank you very much.
Sure. No, I'll try to get in tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
Super. So now we're on to minutes approval.
that we are.
So I picked up my packet late tonight or today, and there were still 2 packets in there. I don't know if everybody's had opportunity to look at the minutes. They were sent digitally as well, I believe.
They were.
They usually are. You guys are pretty good at that.
I did read them and I don't have any comments.
I'm the same.
Okay. Well, then maybe Mr. Cole will make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for 1/25/21.
Second?
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor by roll call, Mr. Cole,
Aye.
Mrs. Bertram,
Aye.
and Mr. Brenner,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. Excellent. Committee reports. So Stormwater Task Force is 1 year this month, has not met. Agricultural Commission hasn't met since our last meeting. And I believe the TCP met before our last meeting as well. Oh, no, they didn't. That was the sticker shock. Yeah, so they gave us their preliminary cost estimate. And it was 21 million and change. Sorry to have said that while you were drinking, Matt, but yeah. So what I thought was going to be some kind of a fixer-upper is ending up seemingly costing as much as it would be to tear it down and build a new one. It was an article in the Ledger, I believe it was last Friday, discussed it. We were all kind of flabbergasted. 21 plus. So I think our next task is, and interestingly enough, the previous speaker presenting the A&R is the chair of that group, and I wish I would have realized, could have got some input from him. I don't know about the cross-professional whatever, but we're going to have to either do some cut and slash and something. I'm pretty sure this town is not going to accept $21 million to fix the TCP. That's just my opinion, and it's shared by a few others. So we're either going to be able to cut some corners and give people buckets of paint with brushes to save some money, or I don't think we have a viable thing to bring to town meeting. So that was the bulk of TCP Building Design Committee. Open Space Ad Hoc Committee.
So the Open Space Committee met on January 19th. Mylene Malari was present as the tax collector and gave an overview about the tax title process because we wanted to understand there's numerous properties that are currently in tax title, and we just wanted to understand what that meant. So it was great that she was able to attend and give an overview. We're continuing to look at general municipal land and just identifying those parcels and what they are. And that's about it.
Very good. Capital Planning Committee.
We met recently to go over the town manager's presentation. There was a question or an error that had to be fixed. One item was put prior to another, so she was going to correct that presentation. And we're continuing to talk about whether or not it makes sense to change the policy. Currently, the policy is any item over 10,000 is considered a capital expenditure, and there's some question as to whether or not that makes sense and whether some items that are currently being looked at as capital should be just built into the budget. But there's a lot of questions about that, is where does that money come from, and where does a small department get that kind of funding? So it's still a discussion that really needs to be thought out and discussed more. And that's about it on on capital planning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Montezuma Region Planning Committee.
MRPC met last week, and there wasn't really a great deal that applied to us this time. The conservation lands mapping, they're still waiting on the town contact. And we're being assisted in the Green Communities Grant Award. That we're in the process of looking to close out our existing grant award and reapply, and they're helping us with that. Those are the two salient points in a meeting that was otherwise lots of them presenting budgets that they're required to show to us, and we don't approve. We just acknowledge that we've seen it.
Matthew, on the waiting for a contact on conservation, Bob Keys has been working quite in depth on mapping of conservation land and gathering all that data. And I know he's been working with MRPC. He hasn't been identified as the contact?
They didn't say it, and I didn't reach out to ask for more details, but I can check on that.
I think what they're waiting for is the item under my director's items. The approval of use of the GIS hours for this calendar year.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The Joint Transportation Commission. MJTC.
Oh, they are meeting on Wednesday.
Very good.
So I will be there then.
Very good. Well, that wraps up our committee reports.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question?
Certainly.
On the Economic Development Committee, I believe we have enough members to move forward with scheduling a meeting, and I'm not sure how that happened since we haven't determined a chair as of yet.
Well, do we have a
Yeah,
Third-
did open space present one?
neither open space, conservation, nor
AgCom.
agriculture have put forward members? So we only have 2 voting members.
We only have 2 voting, okay. Okay, let me follow up with open space. I thought we had 3. Okay, thank you.
We've got a meeting coming up for Agricultural Commission, and there was someone who expressed interest, and we gave them a month to really let it sink in and get in contact with the 2 existing members.
Uh-huh.
And I have heard back from Kathy Clark. She's anxious to start, and JC as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And so you're our ex officio representative on that group, right, Paula?
Right.
Super. Yeah. So I'm in hopes that within the next couple of months that they'll have enough people to start meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we get into our workshop on subdivision regulations.
Mr. Chair, can I actually do my director's items before we lose Mr. Brenner and potentially you on your battery so that we can take care of issues
Yes.
that might be in there?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with the salient one first. The Conservation Commission has requested that they be granted permission to use the 8 or 10 hours of free GIS labor that we get from MRPC to balance out their trail mapping grant. It's an item that the board needs to vote on, and then I'll inform the town manager and she'll notify MRPC. I know that the chair of conservation sent Mr. Allison an email and myself, and so that's why it's on there tonight. So I would raise that for the board to consider. I don't think we have any upcoming immediate GIS needs that would be that would fall into that 8 or 10 hours. And this is a grant that they have had and have been working on for a while. The board did grant them use of those hours last year, and this, I believe, would finish up that project for them.
Yep. And I'll give a little bit more backstory is that when they applied for the grant, or since they applied for the grant, the town has acquired a few more properties and has increased the workload. And Mr. Pease has and his group have done some great work and seemingly have managed to fit those new properties into be inclusive and covered by the grant. So we recently allowed them to use last year's.
That's correct.
And I don't remember ever having used any of those hours on planning board.
We use them on a couple of zoning items on getting mapping done to go in conjunction with the APD
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
village district, but
Yeah.
it's not something that we're regularly dipping into.
Yep.
I would-
So, but
I would make a motion that we allow conservation to utilize the free GIS hours that we get annually from MRPC.
is there a second?
I would second, but I have a quick question as well. This is more just kind of a broad picture because this is my first year on the committee.
Sure.
Now, my understanding was that those, and I might be crossing some of the services provided, but was that some of those hours would also be useful in the future for when we're doing master plan work? Is that correct? Or am I crossing streams?
No, they potentially could be, but if when we put out the RFP, if we hire a private consultant, they're not going to go to MRPC and use their mapping. If we were to award to MRPC, we could theoretically use those 10 hours within the cost of the contract to reduce that mapping cost as part of the contract. But I mean, we have we spent just over 6,000 on the population study. So we have 43,000 and change to do the 2 chapters that we've looked for. So I don't think that the 10 hours of GIS is going to be a make or break on getting those 2 done.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor by roll call. Mr. Cole,
Aye.
Mrs. Bertram,
Aye.
Mr. Brenner,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Something else, Adam, you wanted to do?
I wanted to give you an update on the Greenleaf Botanicals Community Outreach Meeting. I don't think any of you folks attended. It was very sparsely attended, and it was kind of, it was just a presentation on what their operation would look like. It was recorded by cable, so you can go back and view it if you would like. It's not full of detail, and it just kind of goes over who the two front-facing owners are and how they intend to operate the business. For anyone who has ever attended any of the CCC training or the Cannabis Control Commission training, or been to any sort of class about how the industry will be regulated, or has followed the industry in any way through any of the municipal or other governmental associations, it was all fairly standard information, outside of maybe some specifics about who the people involved were. There was not a single question asked by any member of the public that was there. It was about an hour and 15 minutes worth of presentation. So I don't know that there was a lot of useful discussion that came from it. And I don't know how much of that is based on the fact that it was done on a Zoom on a Thursday evening, and how much of it is the area where they're putting it, people aren't terribly offended or concerned. But I think there's, I'm sorry, Greenleaf was not recorded. I'm getting an email that says, so it didn't work to record it. So I don't know if they're going to send us their presentation to be posted, but it didn't seem to generate a lot of what you would expect from one of those meetings, which is discussion and questions and concerns and more pointed information on how it would affect the community.
Surprising. So did they hammer out that host agreement with the select board?
The select board has a draft of it. They have gone back and forth with Greenleaf, town council, Attorney Fedorov from Mead, Tallerman and Costa has, looked at and commented on the host community agreement, has submitted some changes. I believe a fair amount of those changes have been made, and they have not finalized the host community agreement. I think that the hope of the selectmen was, or the select board was, that the community information meeting would generate a little bit more discussion and bring up some issues that would give them some direction on if there were other things that needed to be added or amended within the agreement. And it didn't seem that was an outcome of that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I guess, that kind of raises a concern for me, because I know when we went through this whole marijuana process, that was probably one of the more controversial issues. And at our own meetings, we saw reasonably good attendance.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that now the meeting's gone, it wasn't recorded, so nobody can even go back and look at what was there. And there wasn't a single person out of the entire community that participated.
There were 12. There were 12 people there. There were no questions or discussion.
Wow. And
I was fairly surprised myself.
I don't know how this works out. Like, legally, I know the governor's, swiped a pen and waived all kinds of open meeting law stuff. But to me, I'm partly upset, honestly, because the town dropped the ball with the 6 warrant articles to give the town the ability to vote on prohibition. And that doesn't sit well with me because I feel like the voters should have been able to do that. But it seems like every time we go down this road with marijuana, oh, the meeting disappeared. Oh, the warrant article disappeared. Oh, the ballot disappeared. And we got a handful of people that can speak out.
Well, the warrant articles were all there.
They didn't make it on the ballot, Adam.
Okay, that's
Didn't
true.
make it
Okay,
on the ballot.
and that's a separate issue, and I understand that frustration. I don't know, because it's not a governmental meeting. I don't know how the open meeting law affects it. I know the town manager and I have discussed it, and we're hoping that they would agree to do a second community meeting, because it just really was, it was essentially them giving a presentation and then everyone going, okay, great. And there needs to be some way for people to either submit questions in advance or have some discussion, because it was, I think there were probably a lot of open items that people in general would have questions about.
Yeah, I'm just ashamed. I'm ashamed that this is how Lunenburg's doing business, period. We have a lot of people drawing good salaries. We have attorneys. We know the laws. We know how to play the game. And this stuff just keeps happening. And I feel bad for the voters, and it's shameful. Absolutely shameful.
And again, the setup of this meeting is not the town. So the issue with the recording had to do with the fact that the Zoom was from an outside entity and didn't work with the cable company. We're looking at how we can get them to have a second meeting that would give people more access, or additional access, or however you want to class it.
Well, I hope that happens. All right. Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right. This is dropping fast. Excuse me. Where'd you go? There you go. All right. So the subdivision regulations, we have talked about this for 4 meetings now. And I think the reason it was on there primarily was the submission copies.
That was a carryover, and it's just we'll be scheduling a hearing in the first or second meeting of March for that, for the rules and regs.
Okay.
So the workshop is there's 2. I sent you 2 different things. One was the parking table that we had talked about, and the other was the definitions for the subdivision rules and regs. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you'd rather focus on the parking or the subdivision. It's kind of up to you as a board. I don't expect that the parking we're going to finish for the Maytown meeting. If you want to try and do that, then I would suggest that we focus on that one tonight.
Okay. So has everyone, I haven't reviewed it. I just picked it up earlier today.
I haven't either. I was away for the weekend and it didn't go out till Thursday. So I just opened, and I worked today, so I just opened it tonight.
Bet Mr. Brenner read it.
I did. I don't have a ton. I mean, I don't really have questions because I looked at it and went, okay, these seem to make sense.
So if that's the case, I mean, I assume then you haven't had a chance to review, most of you haven't had a chance to review the definitions either.
Correct on my end.
In fact, I left Thursday night and got home late Sunday, so.
So I guess then what I would say is I have some stuff in the parking that is a problem. And I say a problem, it's not really a problem, but the way that we handle it, or the way that most communities handle it, is that they assign the building inspector or the zoning board to assign space counts based on the proposed use. And you'll see that and this isn't one of them, but I left it blank for a reason. Charitable institutions, outdoor entertainment, golf course, drive-in theater. These are uses so charitable institution could be a variety of different things. And the amount of parking you need for a charitable institution kind of varies by the operation of that charitable institution. A soup kitchen is going to need a different level of parking than some sort of
Clothing drop off or something.
yeah, or financial aid office or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
And the same thing with outdoor entertainment. A disc golf course and a batting cage and a go-kart track are all going to have fairly different parking needs and requirements.
So couldn't we just say as determined by the zoning official?
You certainly could, and I'm happy to do that. That's what a lot of communities do. But when we talked about this the last time, and I suggested that we use the zoning board as a measure for things that weren't defined or certain uses, it seemed the board was hesitant to go in that direction. So
Yeah, I am still in favor of that.
having a board do it seems more consistent to me than an individual. So I didn't want to write in as determined by the zoning official and kind of have that same discussion again. So I wanted to sort of outline why that was kind of a question in my mind, how the board wanted to handle it.
Why is it not as determined by the planning board?
I guess it could be, but if a use is by right and there's no need for them to attend the planning board for anything.
That's true. Site plan.
Yes, potentially.
Um,
And like adult uses, I just put that as determined at the special permit hearing because all of those uses require a special permit, but an adult bookstore or an adult film theater or a live adult entertainment all have different levels of parking need.
So for some of these, if we're looking to limit it being an individual or even having to rely on a board for a specific thing,
Mhm.
I guess I don't understand why some of these can't kind of be brought back to other categories. Using the adult services, for example, does an adult bookstore need different parking requirements than a bookstore? Does an adult live performance venue have different requirements than any other live performance venue? Or does a charity soup kitchen have different parking requirements than any other food service?
And the adult uses, because they require a special permit, it's easy to just lump them in and have that be part of their special permit hearing. And there are places like mixed use or shopping centers where it does refer back to parking as required by the collection of individual uses. And you can do that with charitable institution. Outdoor entertainment, I think that becomes a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
Golf course, I mean, we could probably come up with a reasonable parking scheme for a golf course. Most communities say as determined by the zoning official. And honestly, there's not a lot of communities that define golf course as a use. So
excuse me, our community has an entire district around the golf course.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, whoever I cut off.
The things I'm hearing sound very specific and not terribly common. I don't personally see an issue with delegating those to whatever the proper body is, and I'm very open to hearing if that should be a specific official or a board. But
I mean, that's really kind of a judgment call on the case of the planning board. Does the planning board want to do it? Do they want to give it to the zoning official? Do they want to give it to the zoning board? Those would be the three bodies.
For me, if it's a by right use, to have someone have to go to the zoning board of appeals, which is a lengthy process, and I know this because I've been there, I don't think makes sense. I think we have a zoning official that has been trained, and can make that determination. I don't think it should be elected officials that change. I think it should be one individual that's hired, that's educated relative to regulations. Not to say anything against the zoning board of appeals. I appreciate everybody who volunteers. But I think when you get into things that are open to interpretation, that's when it gets hairy. I think that having specific regulations and having them based on, specific requirements makes the most sense. I also think if there are areas that have to go through site plan review, I agree with Mr. Allison, it should be subject to I think it should say per the decision of the zoning official and or the planning board during site plan review. And I think the planning board should make the decision if it's a site plan review situation. So I don't know how you word that. But I think if it's a site plan review situation, I think we're reviewing it from that perspective, and we should have the ability to chime in on the parking. But if go ahead.
No, I get that, and I think that makes sense, and I can see how I would write that. I just want to think about that and look at it because site plan is an objective approval. So they're meeting a series of metrics within it. I just want us to be careful about putting a subjective approval tucked within that objective approval and make sure that doesn't open us up to something else. But let me do a little bit of research and see what I come up with. And if I can't come up with something, talk to council and see what their thought on it is. But I think that makes sense for by right uses determined by the zoning official. For anything that requires site plan approval, the planning board shall dictate parking by something.
And likewise with special permits?
Well, if they require a special permit for the use, that requires site plan. So automatically it tucks right into that same logic.
So basically we've got by right and we've got site plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I think I appreciate the intent, but I think at the end of the day, everybody's going to end up going through site plan for this stuff anyway, because we don't have any of these uses currently except for the golf course, right? And so everything's
So it's a change of use. Yeah.
And it's going to end up at site plan. And then even with the golf course, okay, they've got enough parking for what they've been doing. They've been doing it for 30 years. Well, if they put an addition on, increase the footprint, now they're back for site plan. So I think in the interest of making it simple, it sounds to me like it should just be a site plan thing. I can't think of any use in town that is by right for any of these that we've left blank.
Yeah, I mean, they're all by right, but they all are going to end up change of use and require site plan approval.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to think if there's an instance where any of those. No. I was trying to think of somewhere where they might be pre-existing, but they're not. So there's
Well,
no,
let me ask though, if somebody has a piece of property that they want to develop and they want to put a charitable institution there,
Mhm.
if it's in in a district that allows that, would they still be subject to site plan review?
Yeah, because it would be a new non-residential building.
Okay, okay. And even if there's not a building on it, if it's undeveloped land?
They do require, site plan does require change of use to come through the planning board. So if it's no use to a new use, then that's technically a change of use.
Okay.
Would one, and this is maybe just too in the weeds to worry about because the odds of it happening seem slim, but would it switch from one charitable institution to another qualify? So the soup kitchen or like a financial services for impoverished families shuts down and in that space opens a soup kitchen instead, a new organization.
No, I mean, it's still probably defined as a charitable institution. So it wouldn't be a change of use.
Even though one was like office and the other was restaurant service?
No, well, it would be up to the building inspector to determine that it's continuing to be a charitable institution.
Oh, well, I mean, they would have to have a huge amount of changes to do any kind of a building to go from financial resources to soup kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe it is in the weeds.
Yeah.
All right. How you doing on time, Matt?
I can give us about 10, 12 minutes.
Okay. Why don't we table this and hopefully we can all get our eyeballs on it. I think we had some good discussion tonight about the by right and the site plan.
Yeah, I mean, that clears up the issues that I had. And then it's a matter of you folks looking at the numbers that are on the other one and saying, yeah, we agree with this and we like it, or no, we don't. And you'll see, we talked about like childcare. Childcare is not a listed use, so it's not showing in what's there because I took the use table and I just eliminated the districts and I went through and I put a parking calculation for each use in the use table. We can add childcare because it's a Dover Amendment protected use and it is subject to site plan approval. So we can dictate what the parking is for that, and I'll add that in for the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you want to touch upon? Did you have something else you wanted to say under director's items about site plan and?
No, that's just, I already said that. We're going to do the hearing for the amendments to the regulations in March.
Okay.
Probably the second meeting in March.
Okay. Then I don't want to cut anybody short. Does anybody have anything else to say on the parking stuff?
Nope.
All right. So our meeting schedule, 6:30 remote, February 22 is our next. And then we're into
That's
March.
correct. And I think in March, we'll probably see North End Subaru for a pretty significant update to their building. They're intending, they've applied to the zoning board, or they intend to apply to the zoning board and this body to essentially level their current dealership and build a new dealership and service center.
Interesting.
So that will be a big project, and I think it will be a really nice addition to that stretch of Route 13.
Yeah. Be another reason to run sewer down there too.
I'll let you fight that battle.
Yeah, we'll be at opposite ends of the road on that.
I know we will. I know. All right. So that's our schedule. We've got one left in February, and then we're wrapping up the year in a COVID-a-thon. So any ongoing items?
No, just the parking and loading that we talked about.
Okay. No public to have any comment. Is there any board comment or anybody?
No, I thought I did, and I do not. Nothing important at all. Just
Okay.
processing a little.
Okay. Well, then I get comments and concerns.
Nope.
All right. I guess then I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
At
Right, second.
7:17?
Mr. Brenner, second.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No further discussion about adjourning. Roll call vote. Mr. Cole? Oh,
Already gone. Already gone.
Okay. Well, we have a quorum, so we can officially close our meeting.
Okay.
All in favor. Mrs. Bertram,
Aye.
Mr. Brenner,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. Thank you all very much.